Covering this major headline that has kind of shaken the internet. I don't watch much of TV, but I have seen this going around, and some people are scratching their heads trying to figure out what's going on with the dating field. And via CNN about exactly 5 days ago, with over 600,000 views. There is a headline that is basically going viral. It's why the rate of single men in the US looking for dates have declined. If you want to watch it on your own accord, on your own smartphone device, this is officially the title. And so what I'm going to do is play for you all from Mr. Michael. This is the presenter here for CNN, has broken the story. It's definitely gone viral, as you can see, with over 600,000 views. And at the end of the video, it is 10 minutes in its entirety. I'm probably going to skip around to the key parts for you all since I've already seen it. But I'm going to add my own commentary for the men. If there's any men that tune in and watch, welcome. I'm gonna be, kind of giving my own opinions on what's going wrong here with dating, relationships, the lack of families being established, the dating app culture, the hookup culture. I'm gonna be talking about that in my own opinions after I show you all this video. So here we go.
Last week, I delved here into recent data from the CDC suggesting major problems with regard to the mental health of our adolescents, surges in depression and suicidal ideation, especially true for our girls. This week, I found cause to worry about young men. This headline from The Hill, it caught my eye. Most young men are single, most young women are not. The story reported that as of 2022, Pew Research Center found 30% of U.S. adults are neither married, living with a partner, nor engaged in a committed relationship. Nearly half of all young adults are single. Now, look at these numbers. 34% of women, twice as many, a whopping 63% of men. What explains that? I pulled the Pew study and I read with interest. Turns out since 2019, the share of single men who say they're looking for dates or relationship has declined from 61% to 50%. In 2018, 28% of men ages 18 to 30 reported they'd had no sex in the past year, compared with 18% of women of that age. The Hill report said men in their 20s are more likely than women in their 20s to be romantically uninvolved, sexually dormant, friendless, and lonely. They stand at the vanguard of an epidemic of declining marriage, sexuality, and relationships that afflicts all of young America. Among the causes, among the factors, a reliance on...
So I wanted to stop right there to add something to that. So there we have it, the introduction, minute 129. The gentleman here is saying how he actually opens up with something very telling that I don't think a lot of people picked up on, but I did pick up on. He speaks to the point that it's not just in terms of heterosexual dating, because they actually haven't factored in the numbers yet of bisexual men, gay men. I think we can all kind of assume here that they're talking about heterosexual, right? Woman to men. So what he said there was that it's also in regards to friendships, right? Not just dating woman to men, a man going out seeking a woman, in real life, not on an app, actually going out, putting in the work, dressing up, looking nice, carrying himself well, which is like a rarity nowadays. He's also speaking to the point that these men are not forming or building solid relationships with friends. They're also lacking friendships. So that part, to me, and I think to most men watching and people in general watching this video who actually are genuinely concerned and want to look for solutions rather than bashing women or bashing men, is that is also an issue. That is a kind of fold, if you will, that they're kind of glossing, many people are glossing over. They're kind of jumping to, heterosexual dating, but he also just said that it's also with friendships. So we had the article not too long ago about how men are lonely. It didn't even say young men. It just said in general, men are lonely, men are they're outcasts, all this stuff, yada yada yada. And that's also in part to the fact that apparently they're not having fruitful friendships. Maybe they do have friends, right? But maybe these men, or these young men specifically, what they're talking about here in this article, in this data, is that they're not having close friendships as well. So that is also something that I think fellow men should be talking about. Fellow men should be concerned about, yes, heterosexual dating, the lack of creation of families, divorce rate, all that. Yes, that's a huge part of why they're lonely or choosing to be single or whatever the case may be. But not having friends, I know I could speak for other ladies out here, whether you're a teenager watching, or young adult. I know I could speak for myself as a woman. Woman having friendships is like very natural, right? Of course, we have the mean girl syndrome and all this stuff, but like on average, women like to create lasting bonds. They want to be with other people, make memories, travel, go to the gym. Excuse me. And it seems that what he's also saying here to open up the video is that men are not finding fruitful friendships with other men. So that also has to be investigated if they want to stop the high rates of suicide. There was also another story that came out yesterday that's been coupled with this story about the 60% of young men single that just dropped, that they're leaving the workforce. Truckloads and truckloads and boatloads of for lack of a better term, young men are also not participating in the workforce. So do you all see how this is intermingling here? Do you all see how this is overlapping here? And do you all see how this is tying in? So it's a lack of friendships, the mental health issues, high suicide, not working. Maybe they have a lack of desire to court women in real life. I think later on in the video, when this other gentleman here, this professor, talks about Tinder and all this, I'm going to touch bases on, the dating apps, which I think was a horrible idea. I may be one of the many few out here that I think that it encourages a sense of laziness. And I don't think it's a good judge of the vibe, which is also what this professor over here, we're going to, this Morgan. How you all know how YouTube is. The ad just popped up out of nowhere. But how this professor right here, we're going to see talk about in a little bit after we get past this portion right here. He talks about, a part of courting is the vibe, the chemistry. He could not be more right. I think that this professor over here, I think he got it spot on in his analysis of the issues that are kind of bubbling over the surface now and are causing men to, have all these other podcasts and passport bros and all these really just excuses as to why they're not putting in the work to get a viable partner, a life partner. Like he explains it, we're going to see shortly, very, very well, that, a part of courtship is, and this is why I don't like dating apps. I've never been warmed up to the idea. I mean, there's apps for, finding more friends and clubs and business networking and those things. I don't mind, jumping on every couple of months. But, I could speak from my own experience. When I've gone on apps like that for networking purposes, the single men come flooding in, you know what I'm saying? And I don't use apps to date. So, that's one person. I'm not even like participating in that way. I believe in, if they want to call the old-fashioned way, the traditional way. I believe that a man should walk up to a woman, ask her for her number, take her out on a date, pick her up. Like, that's what I believe in. And that's how I live my life. Every man I've ever dated, been in a relationship with, that's how I met every man. Is I go out, I look good, they look good, we hit it off, they're a gentleman. This culture of Tinder and Bumble and all this stuff, it's made the technology creators and the people that pumped all this money into these apps, all they've done is make them rich. But society is crumbling, and these, especially the single men, right? These single men are getting the beaten off of people making money off of these apps, because in reality what they've done is produce, in my opinion, it's only my opinion, they've produced a very lazy culture where they want the men to sit at home and scroll on a phone. And what you're also going to find in the video, what they say is that to 3 women is only 1 man. The women are not even responding on these apps. Like I just told you all, that's not how I want to say God intended. Human nature, mother nature. I don't believe that people should be swiping left and swiping right to find a life partner. That's ridiculous. And the people that have found success from that, I'm obviously not talking to you all. But what the data is showing, what society is showing, is that these men, they're not getting it. And it feels to me that other people are not helping them, like maybe they don't have a father figure, or there's not good examples. I mean, to me, there's so many different reasons as to why these men are not feeling supported enough to actually be what real men have always been, which is you go out, you court a woman, you get to know her, not this society of cheating and downloading different apps and hookup culture. I mean, it's all resulted in just one big mess, a bad idea. And I think that now it's actually showing up in the numbers in society and mental health. It's showing, the product of going on Tinder and not finding anybody and wasting, giving your body away for free, or giving your body to different people, like, is not resulting in the happiness that they were sold. All these men are being sold a lie that if they just go on OnlyFans or they go on Tinder, like, that's not the way. I'm telling you, that's not the way. The way is to go out. You got to go out in public, stop being shy, stop being stuck up, work on your hygiene, work on your looks, wear some nice cologne. I'm telling y'all what real women who are not plugged into this system and don't believe in all this garbage. The right way is for a man to court. If you're heterosexual, you're into women, that's how it's done. You go out, you ask her for a number, you pick her up, you get to know her. That's how it's supposed to be done, man. It's not supposed to be done by going on a bunch of different apps with low quality pictures and catfishing and all this. That's not the way. So I'm not surprised. I'm definitely not surprised that there's been numerous viral sea of articles and evidence of men being suicidal and lonely. I'm not surprised. And yes, part of it is because, there's certain things they've done to themselves. Like I said, not getting a degree, not going to college. I mean, he's going to talk about all this. Let me just actually go back here. So on that note, I'm going to go back to the video for you all, but he talks about this as well, how the men, in the eyes of the woman, are not economically viable. And it's, like I said, once again, if you're straight or you're a bisexual man, you also date women if you're bisexual, whatever you are, you're straight, you're bisexual, as a man into woman, right? If you want to succeed and you especially want to create a family. I think especially for the men who want a family, they've got to understand this here. Okay, they've got to wake up that what they're doing is not working, and whatever they've been told from, these podcasters and all this is ruining their sex life, is ruining their romantic life. And if they want to get out of this sea of loneliness and they want to have better friendships, they want to have a partner, they've got to look at the data, right? They've got to look at reality and put 2 and 2 together and say, well, how come this and how come that? They've got to be better. you know, and that's just a sad reality. Like a lot of the men, you know, they don't want to take a shower, they don't want to wear cologne, they don't want to get a good job, they don't want to, I mean, you have to look at that. You know what I'm saying? If you want to skip over all the economical stuff and say, oh, well, I'm a nice person, or, you know, I go to the gym. Okay, but here, I want to put this out. You know, if a man goes to the gym, and you know, I've seen those videos of these men talking about bagging all these ladies, and they have no money, but they want to sleep around and all this. I've seen those videos. I know all about it, right? Okay, I'll just tell you this. Going to the gym is not your saving grace, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. Why do you, if you're gonna complain about women marrying or dating older men, do these older men have a six pack? No. So it's just a lack of common sense. Like, put two and two together. The body is not something that women 100% care about. For the man, right? The men, if they're honest, they'll always say, and they say in the video as well, you know, she has to be attractive, right? Okay, women are not, they're not wired that way. Okay, and this is also what men are missing. They're putting all their money and their energy into going to the gym, but they have no communication skills. They have no, livable income. They're not wanting to better themselves. And I think the main flaw that I've seen across all these different videos of men talking to other men, from my perspective, is you keep talking about body and muscles, and that's not what's going to sustain a marriage. If you think that going to the gym and getting a six pack is what's going to keep you married to a woman, you're delusional. And that's all I hear is, oh, you got to have this car, you got to have that body. That's not what a woman cares about, y'all. What a woman cares about is morals, integrity, consistency, which is clearly lacking. So while they're all preaching to these young men about buy this, buy that, okay, go to the gym, like that's going to keep a lady, that to me is like the funniest thing ever, because that's not even the reason why a woman is even going to consider you to marry you. Like it's not. And if it is, then she could be okay with whatever they're pushing. But most ladies who are in successful marriages, that's not the foundation of why she's with him. It's not because he has a six pack. You know, a lot of ladies are not even attracted to these bulky, muscular men. You know, they're not. So I think there's a huge disconnect of what they're telling men to be and what women actually want. If you want to know what a woman wants, actually listen to a woman. So all the smart men watching this video, you could be one of the many few who are actually smart. If you want to know what a woman actually likes, I just told you, you know, and what they actually want out of a partnership, I just told you. They're not looking for a six pack, okay? They're not looking for a guy in a BMW or an Audi. And most men that I've seen that drive those cars are not good people, okay? Let me put that out there. You know, they don't have the best morals. They don't have the best character. So, you know, women are not stupid. They're not looking for that. They're looking for somebody who's a good future father, responsible, is constantly working on their skills, expanding their mind, reading, education. And this is what these men don't have. If you're saying that men don't want to get degrees and they're making fun of women who do have degrees, then of course they're single. Come on, put two and two together. So it could just come down to fundamentally what a woman wants and deems valuable versus what a man deems valuable, and what he's looking for is not the same. And that's what they say in the video.
Now it's about half of relationships. And the top 20% of men in terms of attractiveness get about 60% of the interest. You end up with a group of men that are more prone to conspiracy theory, more prone to misogynistic content, more prone to not believe in climate change. So this is the American story. If it's written with a pen whose ink is failing young men, does not end well. This is an existential crisis, failing young men.
As always, Professor Galloway was prescient. Back with me now is Scott Galloway. He's a professor of marketing at NYU Stern School of Business. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's the host of the Professor G podcast and author of multiple best-selling books, most recently, Adrift, America in 100 Charts. Scott, thanks for returning. Hasn't the advantage always been to those with the looks and or the money? What's changed?
First off, Mike, I just want to say thank you for raising this issue a year ago when a lot of media companies were afraid to talk about this for fear of it being pro-men was somehow being anti-women. Look, This is returning to the natural order of things. For the majority of history, a small percentage of men have had the majority of the mating opportunities. But in America, we decided to make a huge investment in what would probably be the greatest innovation in history, and that is in the middle class. From 1945 to 1947, 7 million men returned from war were discharged from the service, and we decided to give them the GI Bill, subsidized mortgages. We saw education rates come from 5 to 45%. They were valued, and we had such a strong manufacturing base that you had massive marriage and household formation. And some men were seen as more economically and emotionally viable. And you've seen the reverse happen with the offshoring of much of our manufacturing base, with a society that quite frankly doesn't value young men. When we talk about problems with people of color or women, we see it as a systemic societal problem. When we see problems or the stats that you just mentioned, we see it as accountability, or that men just need to level up. But married households and household formation are better citizens. They vote, they save at twice the rate, they're less likely to commit crimes, and we have fewer and fewer viable men. We have a dearth of economically and emotionally viable men. But the middle class is an accident. Unless you invest in it, it doesn't happen. Eisenhower decided to invest $500 billion in a national highway project that created tons of jobs. We have, and by the way, the tax rate back then was 91%. We raised money and we redistributed in social programs that made young people more economically viable.
And then, Scott, you toss in the influence of social media and how relationships today, they don't come from, in our era, happenstance and mingling, right? They come from swiping, and that further accelerates this issue. Am I right?
Oh, it's been the chaser to it. I mean, to have an honest conversation about this, we have to be honest, and that is that men and women have different mating criteria. One quarter of men saying economic viability is a key criteria in a mate. 3/4 of women say that is important. And when you're on a two-dimensional format, where now it's 1 and 2 relationships begin online, it used to be 1 and 4 just a few years ago, it gets distilled down to a small number of criteria. Specifically for men, it's does she look attractive, and specifically for men, is he able to signal his ability to garner resources in the future. An average attractive male on Tinder gets swiped less than 1% of the time, and there's 3 men on Tinder for every 1 woman. So you've distilled it, you've taken out one of the key components of mating dynamics, and that is vibe, humor, body language, pheromones, the ability to be, quite frankly, a little bit persistent in the pursuit of a romantic relationship. We have no third places anymore, no places to meet. People aren't going to bars, they aren't sports league, they aren't going to church, they aren't even going to work. So it gets distilled down to very 1 or 2 dimensional attributes, and the reality is women are much cheaper.
So there's a point that I was making before where he's talking about the fact that, like he just said, he said a really, really good note, not going to church, not going to bars, not going to work. Right. So exactly. So like I said, if you're not out and about, you're not active, you're not in your community, you're not going to the park, you're not going anywhere, how in the hell do you expect to meet people? And not just a romantic partner, right? Friends, man, like the man was saying, that's also, I think, an equal scary thing that these men are dealing with, that they also need to shine a light on, is the fact that if they don't even have friends to go out with, or they don't have anybody to talk to, then of course they're going to be lonely. Of course they're going to be sad. Of course they're going to feel like, what's wrong with me? Of course they're going to doubt themselves. They have to have a strong support system. And, that's also taking into account, these men's relationship with their family, with their parents, with their peers. I think it makes it worse. And I'm sure this has to account for it with the divorce rates, and things of that nature. But, they don't have the best father figure or even mother figure, or they don't have a good relationship with their parents, or they don't have any, family that they're tied to, or even more so, they're isolated. And some by their own doing, and others, most of them not, they may not have the relationship with their parents. So factor in, lack of parents, lack of friends, lack of partner. This is why it's crumbling. this is why it's crumbling. And I think it's very good that people are talking about this. I think it's very good because there is solutions out here, you know. There's a will, there's a way. But I think especially for these men, which I'm not a man, I think, you know, men and other men are gonna have to figure it out. You know, it's not up to women to throw out all these ideas. I mean, like I said, when it comes to what a woman's actually looking for, I think men should listen more to women, because a woman is what you're going for, correct? If you're listening to a man about what a woman wants, that makes no sense to me. If you want to know what a woman wants, you ask a woman. You don't ask a man. The only way you'd ask a man is if you want to date another man, or you're trying to compete for the ladies he has, or, you know, whatever the case may be. All right.
Choosier than men, and they can apply those screens down to very one or two dimensional attributes. And the reality is women are much choosier than men, and they can apply those screens, and they allocate all of their attention to a small number of men that results in just essentially at the end of the day, a lack of opportunities. Chris Williams summarized it perfectly. He called it the high heels effect. In the last 40 years, more women have graduated from college than men, and they're not interested in mating with non-college grads. They now own more homes, single women than single men. So what you have is women say they won't date anyone shorter than them, 50% of them. Effectively, what you have metaphorically over the last 40 years is women have been getting taller and taller, and men have been getting shorter and shorter. How many of us have said, I know a ton of great single women, they can't find a date? That's not true. They can't find a date. They can't find a man they find economically or emotionally viable. If we don't make a massive investment in young people and make more economically and emotionally viable men, we're going to see a lack of household formation, we're going to see a decline in the middle class, and we're going to see, quite frankly, just a lot of young men who are terrible citizens.
So is the answer to fix this economically, and who will champion this conversation? You felt obliged to compliment me at the outset because we had engaged on this a year ago, and here I am revisiting it. And I read into that the fact that you think that it's politically incorrect even to have this dialogue.
Oh, and I also want to add, you all, this came to my mind, you know, those who are incarcerated, right? Those who are in jail, prison, you know, those who are not with their families, you know, those who have, you know, been locked up wrongfully, or they've committed crimes, you know, that's a subsection of you know, the population of men that are not even in the real working world, right? They're locked behind bars. And that I'm sure they didn't have time to put in here, but that's also, you know what I'm saying? So I just think that, and from what I've seen over the years, I definitely think that the information that men are getting about what women really want and how a man should be is wrong. And you know, I'm sure other ladies can relate out here. You know, a lot of times I find myself laughing because I listen, or if I come across these videos on social media, there are people are retweeting on my timeline or whatever, and they're talking about, especially these podcasters, we know how this is, and they're talking about, you know, what a man should be, and they're always wrong. And that's why I laugh, because it's like, okay, all these men are doing is keeping other men single. And the men who are happily married, the men that do benefit from marriage more than the woman, obviously, right? And the men that are, you know, successful in their friendships and their career and things like that, you know, they're looking at these podcasters and these articles, these people, and they're laughing as well, because they know that it's not true. And so I think that just fundamentally, where these men, especially young men, are getting their information from is wrong. It's not helping them. It's not enriching their lives. All it's doing is trying to tear down women and point out what a woman is not. But that's not how you get laid. That's not how you get a woman. That's not how you get a partner. So they're not helping these men. All they're doing is making money off of these people who don't know any better. And I think for the bigger part, don't have probably a good father figure in their life, you know, or don't have that maybe they have parents that are still together, but the parents did a bad job. You know, let's put that out there. You know, it could be that the fact that a lot of these men were raised by shitty parents. And I think that gets glossed over as well. They don't talk about the upbringing. They don't talk about the fact that maybe there was a crappy mom and a useless dad that is raising these men. And then you wonder why they turn out the way they turn out. You know, it's not always directly the man's fault. It could be that there's a lot of information or what they were exposed to in their childhood that has created them to be rebellious, for lack of a better term, or just quite useless, you know, in the dating world, and they don't stand a chance. They don't stand a chance. So I just think that the men, if they don't have good role models, they don't have parents that they respect, and their parents are crummy, and their parents did not teach them how to, you know, go to college or get a good career, take care of their body, take care of their mind, you know, spirituality. You know, if they don't have all these elements and these components lined up, then point blank period, majority of these women are not gonna date them. You know, I'll be the first to say it. Women rather be single because, you know, a woman's peace is the highest priority. It's not diamonds are our best friend like they try to pronounce around in the Marilyn Monroe days. No, women are prioritizing their peace. And so it's also something that these men that are trying to help other men that are not doing a good job at it are not telling the men. The woman is not going to want to be with a man who is, you know, acting erratic and over controlling and abusive and cheating. And, you know, they're not, like, what they're being told or what they believe or how they're behaving is not aligning at all with what a woman wants. And so I think that's the if I could summarize, that's the issue. That's the issue. They don't really know how women think. They don't really know how to treat a lady. And that could come from they don't have good role models, right? Nobody taught them how to hold open a door. Nobody taught them how to not call their girlfriend a bitch, right? These men calling girlfriends their bitch. I mean, why would you talk to a lady like that? Right? But this is the culture that either they've bought into or they believe or was passed down. And so this is how they treat women. They treat women like cattle and then wonder why they're single, right? They go on these podcasts and bash every lady. They rate ladies about their attractiveness, which I think is subjective because someone's attractiveness is going to be different for everybody. So you just outright giving a number to a lady and calling her fat or this or that or whatever, or a whore, like, it's not making them look good. And I don't know why anybody should be surprised. You know, you're not courting the lady. You're not even man enough to go up to a woman's face and ask for her number. So how the hell do you expect to have a partner? Like, seriously, you know, I think, I'm just going to give my opinion and I'm sure the woman can relate, but I think that a man going on an app and trying to find a lady off an app is pitiful. I think it's pitiful because you're trying to tell me that you can't go outside your house and go to any event or just everyday life. Like you can't get anybody. You can't find like anybody to walk up to and ask for their number. And I'm sure they haven't included this, but I'm just gonna, you know, put my 2 cents because I see it in everyday life. They're not asking ladies for their number. I get asked my number because that's how I operate. See, when I go out, that's what I get. That's how I met my previous partners, and my future partner. I'm gonna meet the same way. You know, I deal with real men who are gentlemen. I don't want a man who's gonna hide behind a phone, right? So I think that the dating apps is a bad idea. You know, take away the dating apps. I mean, this could be a little extreme, but here's the thing. You know, take away Tinder, take away all these apps and see how these men change, right? See how they get off their butt and actually put effort into their looks. And when I say looks, we're not talking about a 6-pack. Let me just reiterate again. We're talking about your how you're composed, your aura, how you dress, how you carry yourself, okay? Nothing to do with if you have a 6-pack or not. You know, these men are steering them the wrong way. Nobody cares about that. Nobody really cares about that. What we care about is how do you conduct yourself? Do you come across as a jerk off? Do you come across as a playboy? Do you come across as a teenager? Do you come across as a jock strap? You know, is that, you think that's attractive? It's not attractive. You come across as a gentleman and you're actually a real gentleman, not a fake one, a real one. You're gonna obviously be coupled up. You're obviously gonna have a healthier sex life. No brainer. But if you want to be stuck in being a a F-U-C-K boy, you know, a guy who's just a player, and you have your pants sagging, you have all these tattoos on you, you know, you look a hot mess, you know, you don't take a shower, you don't shave, you don't have your beard cut nice, like, this is playing into the stereotypes, right? This is playing into why women are choosing to be single. Or I think what they didn't add as well, that I'll add in the video, is woman dating other women. That's a huge part of it that I think that most people are going to be, if they're honest. There was another, in the same article, if you scroll down, it said, so who are they with, right? If the men are single and the women are not single, who are they with? And I'm like, no brainer, with other women. Okay, so now these young men, these men in general, y'all need to factor in the fact that these women are also with other women. It's not polygamy necessarily. It's women marrying or being coupled up with other women you are attractive, women who have degrees, women who have their own place to stay, women who are bettering themselves. You know, this is like the reality. Okay, I'm just gonna put this in perspective for all the men watching. This is a reality. A woman with another woman who is attractive, think about this, right? Or whatever. Okay, good communication skills, has an income, is prompt in communication, doesn't leave them on read, doesn't ghost, doesn't breadcrumb, right? Another woman is getting sad. I mean, let's not, I don't want to put on Front Street, but they say how women can achieve an orgasm quicker with another woman than a man, right? That we heard about that too, right? That's been a while now. But I think if men want to help other men get back in good standing, they have to put all this into account. So I'm trying to help the men who actually give a damn. All the men who want to judge a woman and they want to be negative and they don't want a woman, fine, be single. I mean, you can be happy single. You know what I'm saying? Women are happy, are the happiest group of people in the world that are single and have no kids. Not a surprise to me, but for the men, it's not the same. You know, single men are normally not, they're not as happy, sadly. But you can be. I think a man, if a man wants to be single and happy, he can be. It just comes down to your lifestyle, you know what I'm saying? How you carry yourself. It has a lot to do with it. If you just have bad hygiene, bad habits, a bad mentality, you're not going to progress in life. And this is why I think that, you know, whoever is the father figures or the role models in these young men's lives are not doing a good job. I mean, that's across the board. Obviously, somewhere along the way, these young men have been failed, because who in their life, I want to know who in their life is steering them correctly. Do they have brothers, right? Do they have an uncle? Do they have a father? Where are all the strong men in these men's life? If they have these strong men role models in their life, they wouldn't be carrying on like this. They would not be making podcasts just talking utter rubbish. You know, they'd be actually working a job. They'd actually be, you know, bettering themselves. But no, they're just bashing people and being jealous of other men who are doing well, right? That's another part of it. You know, the men who are doing well, the other men are hating on. So, you know, unlike with women, when women see other women doing well, they want to join the party. So the mentality is totally different. When a woman sees another woman doing really well, when a woman sees another woman doing really well, they congratulate her. They don't hate on her. They congratulate her. They want to they exchange ideas. So I'm wondering, you know, it doesn't seem like the men are doing that. It seems like the men that are competing, they're not lifting each other up. They're tearing each other down. You know, they're committing crime. They're killing each other, right? So, you know, there's a lot of factors. You know, the fact that, you know, women die more on average from their male partners, right? Like married women, you know, I mean, homicide, all types of stuff. Like there's so many factors, I think, as to why these men are not in relationships or not married or not even having kids. To me, there's so many other reasons than just what this article or this video. I'm giving you all the full scope here in the short amount of time that I can, right? Crime, lack of role models, bad mentality, listening to the wrong people. They don't have God in their life. They don't believe in a God. So they act reckless, you know, so they're spreading STDs. The list goes on, you know, leaving women as single mothers, not raising their kids. Like, and this is not just with any one specific race. This is across the board, guys. So it comes down to how you carry yourself, how you think, and what you believe. If you believe that women are just cattle and just for your pleasure only, and that you should not pleasure them back, and you can't understand why your previous sex partners, or you have no sex partners even more so, or your exes are complaining about you, you gotta take a look in the mirror. You gotta take a look in the mirror. If you're just getting a bad reception and nobody you've been with can ever say nothing nice about you, that reflects more of your character than anybody else out here. And I think a lot of men, I can definitely see with all this evidence here that a lot of men just are not looking in the mirror. There's a good amount of men who are looking in the mirror, who are seeking out the help, who are reading the right books, but there's majority are not. Majority are saying, oh, it's her fault. It's this person's fault. It's that. But like, that's not how this goes. If you want to follow biblical scripture, you want to get religious about it, saying that a man is a head of the household is a big responsibility, right? And a man cannot be head of a household if he's not even a leader. Like, start there, right? A man cannot be a good husband, a good father, a good provider if he's not even a leader. So is it by choice? Is it by environment? Is it by how they were raised? You have to look at all these factors, okay? So for the men who have no idea what's going on or they're just blind to it, I tried my best in this 40-minute plus video to from my perspective to tell you all what I see out here and what I hear and why they're not successful. It comes down to what is their beliefs about themselves. If you don't believe that you deserve love, if you don't have self-love, which is what a lot of women are on, right? A lot of women are naturally on the wave of self-care, self-love. I've never seen that with men. I've never seen a wave of men say, I'm going to love myself. I'm going to forgive myself. I've never seen it. It's like such a small population of men who are even on that. So it's no surprise why they're not successful with family, not successful in the world, not successful with friends, not successful with women, not successful in finding a partner to marry. Come on. The evidence is right there. I've just said it in this video. All the reasons why is in this video. So stop using dating apps. Shape up, ship out. Get out of your comfort zone and make a difference. Be the difference in the world you want to see. Stop bashing ladies. Stop picking on single moms. Stop trying to look for excuses and exit portals as to why you're not getting the kind of woman of quality that you want. Stop making excuses. Like, just stop making excuses and realize that it comes down to you. If like I said, if you do believe in the biblical way of things or traditional way of things, as a man being the household, the man being the provider, the man being the leader, that's what you all should be doing. If you men are not being providers, you're not leaders, you're not leading anything, nobody respects you, then how do you expect a woman to actually be with you? Right? How do you expect a woman to actually take you seriously when you don't lead anything in your life? You don't lead anything. You're not responsible for nothing in your life, right? You're crumbling. So that's that.
Is advocating for men because of the 300,000-year head start we've had. It seems somehow as anti-female. There's a lot of very unfortunate misogyny online that is masquerading as being pro-men. A lot of TikTok celebrities who talk about advocating for men, it's just thinly veiled misogyny. What do we need? We need more freshman seats in colleges. We need a massive investment in vocational training. We need to figure out a way to get more permitting for housing so young people can afford housing. We need to recognize our economic policies, literally allocate wealth from young people.
Yeah, and I want to speak on the college thing real quick for the audience here. I want to speak real quick on what he just said about the college, right? He said, if you caught what he said more freshmen in seats. What he's talking about is, which freshman is the welcoming class, right? When you enroll into a college, you are first a freshman, right? So there's men out here that say, oh, you don't have to have a degree to be successful. That's correct. But on average, just how you communicate, right? How the knowledge you do gain, the peers you have are going to be a different quality of people. So once again, common sense. If most women are going to college and you're not in college as a man, where are you going to meet these ladies? Tinder's not going to do it, folks. Bumble's not going to do it. Okay, Snapchat's not going to do it. Right? Like, you got to be where the other successful people are. The people that want to better themselves, you got to be where those people are. If you're not even in the room, you can't meet them. And then for some of them, they want to turn around. Only for the men who are upset about this, I'm speaking to right now. The ones that want to turn around and say, oh, why do we need to do that? Why do I need a degree? Why isn't my job good enough? Okay, that's just how it goes. And once again, if you don't want to subscribe to that, you don't match up with that, then my advice is find a woman who probably didn't go to college as well, right? Or find a lady who doesn't care about that. Don't just like throw up your hands and say, oh, they're all the same. Like, no, there's women out here who don't care if you have a degree or not. But you have to first get out there and find the ones and talk, right? Communicate to the ones that don't care about that. You have to get to know them. Stop trying to rush them into bed. Actually sit and have a conversation. And that's the problem as well. You're trying to get to from A to Z, and you don't even know who you're sleeping with. You don't even know the lady's background. You don't even know what her goals are in life. You don't even know her mentality. All you're trying to do is just rush her into bed, and then you wonder why you have a bad baby mama, or you have all these so-called, as they want to call it, hoes in their life. Come on, like, you guys got to do the work, okay? Stop trying to rush them to what they call fifth base. Actually have a conversation, men, with the ladies that you're courting, that you're, physically attracted to. Because we know that's a big part for y'all is physical attraction, okay? But put that aside. Get to know her. Get to know her mind. So if you are a man out here and you're not college educated and you have a stigma issue with that, okay, then go find a lady who doesn't care about that, okay? And if for put this out here, if the ladies that you want a college educated man, as what the man said here, most of them, they want somebody who's also college educated. You can't be mad about that. You can't be mad about that, because when you actually go to college, like I graduated from college, I have a bachelor's, okay? Yeah, if you go to college and you go through the process of all those classes and tests and exams and protocols, you understand that they hold you to a higher standard, man. For the men who didn't go to college, I'm trying to tell you, okay? They hold you to a higher standard. They do. They test your IQ. They test your memory. They test a lot of things about you that outside of college you're not going to get. Whether it's a scam or not, who cares, right? It's still sadly a part of the system, okay? But that's just how it goes. So if you are upset that a lady wants somebody who makes the same money as her or whatever, that's ridiculous. And if that's the case, go find a lady who don't care about that. Go find a lady. There's at least one out there, right? Who doesn't care if you don't have a bachelor degree or a master's degree or a PhD or an MBA. Come on. Like, stop with the excuses. So it's all excuses, you all. It's all a cop-out. The dating apps are a cop-out. The podcasts are a cop-out. Bashing on single mothers is a cop-out. Single mothers have nothing to do with why you can't get a girlfriend, why you can't get married, why you have a bad sex life. Like, it's a cop-out. They have nothing to do. Single mothers have nothing to do with why a man is not successful in his life. So whenever I hear that and I see that, I just laugh, because the two and two do not coincide at all. And nothing in this video from any of these people who have knowledge and have researched this and have met the subsection of people they're talking about has ever once in this video said single mothers, right? It doesn't exist. So once again, these videos are targeting the wrong things, and they're failing the men. They're actually failing men from actually being successful. They're distracting you all with the wrong information, okay?
People to old people, the percentage of wealth that young people control under the age of 40 has been cut from 12% to 6%. These are concerted, deliberate decisions. We did away with the child tax credit. We don't want to make it any easier for people to have kids, but seniors just got their largest cost of living adjustment increase in history. We have made the decision to make it harder and more expensive for people to find each other, for people to mate, and for people to have children. And without children, we turn into Japan and Italy, and that is we go into population decline and our economy goes into decline. We are about to become a society, by the turn of the century, there will be 8 times as many people over the age of 60 and half as many kids under the age of 5. Nursery schools will become these strange situations with old people staring through fences at these creatures they don't see in the wild called children. Is this the world we want? Do we want a lack of kids? Do we want a lack of ability to create households? The happiest, most prosperous, most purposeful people in America are middle-class families. And we have made a concerted decision to punch it in the gut and make it harder for that type of family formation. And we're going to lose prosperity and we're going to lose purpose.
There's a pattern to.
And so that's the video. So what I wanted in the video was saying, you all, and thank you for watching, is that, you know, like I want to end the video and say this: if you want to be single and be happy single, be single. I think there's nothing wrong with being single. I really don't. I really don't. I think people can be single and can be happy, but as this article is saying, is that these single men are not happy. That the problem is that they're not happy. That's the problem. And these men are trying to help these men be happy. They're trying to steer them in the right direction to be happy, to create happiness. But I personally think that, you know, especially women have no problem being single. Most of them don't have a problem. Some people are. Some of them, of course, every people are different. But by the data, just by what you see out here, you know, it is possible to be single and be happy. It definitely is. And so what they're saying is, why are the single men not happy, right? Why are they not getting what they want out of life? And that's the issue. Being single is, in my opinion, it's not an issue if you choose that. But if you're not choosing that and you want to find somebody and you're not finding success, or you're finding a lot of backlash, then you have to investigate that. So I think that, you know, I think it comes down to a lot of reasons, a lot of reasons as to why for women, men are just not appealing. You know, they're not appealing to marry, they're not appealing to live with. A lot of women are just not interested. And so yes, it is the duty of the man to look in the mirror and figure out and look within themselves as to why they're not viable, why they're not attractive, why they're not a good match. And that's just the harsh reality. Like, I mean, it's a sad situation, but that is a harsh reality, you all. If they don't look at, you know, how their fathers treated their mothers and how they were raised and what they were taught, if they don't change their mindset and get back focused and healthy, then it's going to continue in this direction, you all. But women, as it stands, don't have much of a problem. You know what I'm saying? They're, like I said, you know, they're not counting that, but they're dating other ladies. You know, if they're not dating men, they're going to be dating other women. I'll be the first person to say that. That's what I see. And they're not talking about that, but that's where that secret number comes from, is the woman marrying other women, right? And that has to be accounted for as well. If they're not going to marry a man and they're going to get married, so they're going to marry a woman. And so the men are not just up against their own selves, they're up against other women. So this is something they also take into account, okay? So thank you all for watching. You all have a great rest of your day.